here we go. It's time for another podcast, and this one's going to be for 9:15. So there were some closed roads that were being torn up or whatever, Prospect being our main sprint, so we had to pick a detour. So we find ourselves heading up north and going towards the Vine Rollers. I figure we'll showcase some of the people that don't get a lot of time, and looking back we can see that with Carrie and myself up front, these are the big men also that follow us, and we're getting warmed up for the contest. So this is on the frontage road. Many of you may recognize this, and it's interesting how the camera flattens things out, but we're actually climbing this little bit of a hill here, and we're almost to the new sprint zone. So Greg makes the signal, and we come to a full stop because this is a different route, and people don't really know yet this is going to be a sprint zone, but I make the announcement that this in fact is going to be a sprint zone, and that I'm hoping that it's going to be somewhat tactical and it's not going to be crazy. But Carrie's like trying to be funny here, and so he just like feigns like he's gonna go take off, and he kind of keeps pedaling, and no one takes up the mantle here. So he's got a little bit of a gap. I'm not gonna follow him. I was up front for the last half a mile or so, and people should know that Carrie's dangerous if he gets out there. So finally people get the hint that I'm not chasing him and that others are gonna have to do something. So Carrie's like fully engaged now. He sees the lethargy of the group, and so he knows that people aren't all that game. So it's time to go hurt some people. So I tack it in the back, and it took a little bit of wattage, and you can see like 300 or 400 watts to pull the group back in, and we're settling into a rhythm. So my heart rate's already at like 171, which is like a lot higher, but because of the heat, it's probably not at my red line yet, but I'd rather it be in the 160s. So moving right and looking at the front, that Carrie seems to have plenty of energy, and it's a good thing that we didn't let him go, or that people were willing to take the mantle up, because last time this happened we needed the strength of Matthew Michaels to bring him back, and if Matthew wasn't willing to do the work, Carrie might have stayed out there, because he stayed out there for almost 2 miles on the Prospect Sprint. So he's definitely riding well. So take a look back. There's Thomas, the big man, sitting in the back, enjoying things, and Carrie's up front, still doing all the work. And my heart rate's coming down, so I'm feeling a little bit better about this. A lot of draft by the big men. Now I'm a little concerned about being this far back, because I know that there are people in front of me, and there is no disrespect, this is only honesty, that are going to fall off the pace. And that might be Ian, and that might be Brandon, but at this point there is an attack. And as I was moving up and I anticipated this, the selection is about to be made. So we take a look back, we see Justin just tagging onto the back. Thomas makes a lot of effort to get back, and now I have come and the selection has been made. So it looks like it's going to be Carrie and Curtis, Joel, Greg, myself, Justin, and Thomas for this one. And you can see way back that those folks have given up, and the selection is made here. So my heart rate really went up on that one, because I was like in the back further than I wanted to be, and it took some effort when that attack went. So now my heart rate's at 182. I don't think it could go that high, at least not for very long. So any minute now I'm going to explode off the back, but it could just be the heat. So I'll just kind of hang in here. Besides, I have the camera, and it's wrong if the cameraman gets dropped. Otherwise you guys don't get these wonderful videos. So if you can see that once again Carrie is like just driving this one, and people are letting him, and it looks like Greg has finally decided it's time to make something happen also. So pumping right along, and I can see that I forgot to put speed in the telemetry rendering, which means I should probably go and do this one again. But we're going fast, and so maybe I'll redo this one, or maybe I won't. Anyhow, so it looks like we're starting to get organized. I'm really glad that it isn't just the people burning themselves out and getting attacked at the end, because even in some of the other videos, Carey blows himself up, hurting the group, and isn't able to participate in the final melee. But now we've gotten organized, and everybody's hurting, or at least participating, so we don't have anybody that's just basically sitting in and is going to come through at the end and win the sprint. I'm not going to name names here, but there are wheel suckers that pretty much don't do any work and then come through at the end for the sprint, which, well, it's perfectly fine. That's the tactic that you need, but at least participating a little bit would be helpful. But this group, everybody's all in and working pretty hard, and this is really smooth. I mean, this is the way a pace line is supposed to look. Exactly. Nice rotation, everybody's nice and tight, everybody's doing about the same amount of turn. Nobody's thinking about accelerating too much at the front. A well-trained, well-oiled group, and I'd be proud to race with any of them on my team. So here we go. Got a nice view. Carey working in the back. Got Greg working hard. Justin pulling through. Joel looking strong. And I'm pretty happy at this point. Everybody is content to just contribute to the group. Even Curtis back there, and I know Curtis is probably itching to do something here, or maybe not. He's got that new bike. Greg's looking pretty strong here. I don't know how many miles he did before this, but he gets a lot of miles in the week, so this has got to be somewhat of a challenge. But the rotation is going well, and we are having a good time. I wish I had put the speed up here, but I'm guessing it's probably in the mid-20s someplace. So now we've gone through a few rotations, and my heart rate's finally settled. 172 is pretty high, but I'm gonna guess maybe 5 of those beats or so is just because of the heat. So I'm figuring that I'm not at my anaerobic or lactate threshold just yet. I go to the front a little bit, it raises, and look at that, there's 400 watts being thrown at the front. So this is a pretty good group. So Carey attacks me when I'm in the front, and I am not pleased here. Not because, it wasn't a good move, but because I'm about to get dropped. But it's a good thing that there are big men back here. So mentally I thought that I should just drop off, but you saw the 500 watts necessary to pull these guys back in. I thought that I should embrace the pain and at least maintain contact as long as I can. And you see, this was a really good move because even Joel got gapped on this one, and so there's separation with Justin and Curtis and Carey up front, and that's what should have been actually a winning move, except we got Thomas back here, and Thomas is going to bring these boys in single-handedly while we just kind of sit in. And I really appreciate that, and it shows good tactics and what can happen if you attack at the wrong moment. But well done. Would have been cool to have some of these other power numbers up there, like Curtis's and Carey's and Thomas's, to see what was actually going on. But it must have been pretty high. I'm guessing Thomas was probably throwing down the better part of 450 watts to bring those guys back. So now my heart rate is 182. I'm totally redlined here, and I have nothing. But maybe 5 of those beats, like I said before, is due to the heat. So I'm going to just hang in here for as long as I can and try to finish this one off with the group and get as much camera time as possible. So that group has been brought back. It looks like we're going for the final sprint because I can see the wattages are pretty high. Greg goes for it. I'm barely hanging on here. It looks like Curtis and Carey are up there pushing pretty well, and Thomas I know is up there, and Justin, yeah, doing his work at the front, going for that last final push. Everybody using all their anaerobic ability to do something. And I'm really not certain who actually wins this, because this is kind of a new sprint, and I always usually sprint to the top of a hill, which isn't all that evident in this video because videos kind of flatten out things. But it looks like maybe Carey took this one if that was the crest, but there's still a good bit of stretch to the to Derek's dead end or whatever that road is up there. So I think it looks like the group sits up and Thomas just goes for it, and if it's further like that stop sign or the stop warning sign, then Thomas got it. But a good time was had by all. I was just happy to be like hanging on there, but that was good. I enjoyed that one. Waiting for my heart rate to come down, 175. Yeah, that burned a lot of fuel on that one. So mental note, keep an eye on Carey. He's tricky. In fact, maybe I don't want a rotation anymore. Maybe the smart thing to do is just sit on Carey, because you know he's going to do something, and I'm going to end up with the short end of the stick here. So maybe I'll try to choose my position in the rotation so I can keep an eye on both Thomas and Carey, so that this, doesn't happen again, and I am like at least able to make the initial or the secondary selection. But well done, guys.